Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you with us today. If you've ever felt like your workplace is just a giant storm of shifting priorities and totally unpredictable chaos, you are definitely not alone. But right in the middle of all that noise, there are these certain people who act as this incredible stabilizing force. Today, we're unpacking one of the most fascinating cognitive profiles out there, the self-assurance trait. We're going to break down exactly what makes these individuals tick, why they are absolutely crucial to our teams, and how you can better understand them using this framework. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We're looking at 5 key sections. We'll kick things off with Section 1, the internal compass, and then move right into Section 2, the value of certainty. From there, we'll hit Section 3, the balcony, brace ourselves for Section 4, the basement and blind spots, and wrap the whole thing up with Section 5, theme contrasts. All right, let's start with Section 1, the internal compass. They march to the beat of a different drum. Seriously, think about it for a second. Have you ever met someone who just inherently knows what to do when panic sets in? While everyone else is frantically looking around the room waiting for instructions, this person is already moving. And that's because they operate with this highly attuned inner guidance system. They honestly don't need external validation to know which way is north. Their compass is entirely internal, and they're more than willing to just trust their own personal instincts, even when literally everyone else in the room is hesitating or outright disagreeing. So, what does this actually mean? Well, self-assurance isn't just about acting tough. By definition, it's a deep inner confidence and a really profound trust in one's own judgment, abilities, and direction. This internal compass provides them with just incredible resilience during difficult situations. It's what allows them to naturally believe they can handle challenges, make the tough calls, and successfully navigate uncertainty. Look, while uncertainty paralyzes a lot of us, for someone with high self-assurance, it's really just another environment to navigate using their own internal map. Now, all of this amazing insight comes directly from the SwitchOn Strengths framework. It's a system designed to help us discover, activate, and really thrive using our natural talents. By looking at traits like self-assurance through the specific lens, we stop just guessing about people's behavior and start utilizing a structured understanding of these cognitive profiles. Moving right along to Section 2, the value of certainty. Picture this. You're in a massive crisis meeting. The biggest client just pulled their funding, the project timeline is completely ruined, and the room is dead silent with anxiety. We've all been there, right? Well, then the person with self-assurance speaks up. They bring this incredible confidence and uncertainty, the courage for necessary risks, and independent decision-making. They just look around and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. And they say it with such conviction that you can practically feel the oxygen return to the room. Their certainty just inherently reassures everybody else. They naturally communicate in a way that inspires belief in forward movement, acting as a profound stabilizing force for the whole team. But they can't do this in a vacuum. To actually get the most out of this trait, the environment has to support them. If you try to micromanage someone with high self-assurance, you're essentially just burying that internal compass under a pile of red tape. It doesn't work. They fundamentally require the freedom to act independently, the flexibility to choose their direction, and the space to trust their instincts. But, and here's the real kicker, they don't just want a room full of yes men. No way. They desperately need feedback that sharpens their judgment and awareness. They need an environment that lets them lead, for sure, but also helps them refine that really powerful instinct. Which brings us to Section 3, the balcony. Up on the balcony, and this brilliantly illustrates their absolute peak performance, they are leading with confidence and taking initiative in uncertainty. They don't just survive difficult challenges, they actively engage them. And they bounce back from setbacks way faster than almost anyone else, simply because their self-belief isn't tied to a single outcome. At their absolute best, they are courageous, highly dependable anchors. When everyone else is totally lost in the fog, they are the lighthouse. But that leads us to a very important and honestly somewhat dangerous question. What happens when that confidence turns into recklessness? What happens when that internal compass gets just a little too loud and the person completely stops looking out the window? That takes us into Section 4, the basement and blind spots. See, when this beautiful independence is unmanaged or overused, it morphs into isolation. Down in the basement, things get messy. They start taking unnecessary risks, ignoring obvious warning signs, and flat out refusing help or collaboration. The individual begins to recklessly rely solely on their own judgment. Because they feel so internally certain, they might just charge right off a cliff, completely ignoring the team members who are desperately waving red flags right behind them. And that flows right into their common blind spots. People with high self-assurance naturally communicate strongly and decisively, But because of this, they can completely unintentionally intimidate others. They might speak before hearing different perspectives, overpower quieter personalities, and assume leadership without ever actually consulting the group. The thing is, they aren't trying to be malicious, not at all. They just see the path so clearly that they accidentally bulldoze right over anyone who is still, trying to read the map. If you've ever been steamrolled in a meeting, you know exactly what this blind spot looks like. It's a massive hurdle, and it requires some serious, active self-awareness to manage. Finally, let's look at Section 5, Theme Contrasts. To truly understand this trait, we've got to look at it next to others. Self-assurance is driven by certainty. Compare that to the learner profile, which is driven by curiosity. One naturally trusts their instincts to move forward confidently, while the other wants to slow down, analyze, and just explore endlessly. You can probably imagine the friction here, right? But you can also see the magic. Put them together properly, and the learner ensures the team actually has all the facts, while the self-assurance person ensures the team actually makes a decision and gets moving. Also, notice how these themes handle risk entirely differently. Self-assurance anticipates risk so that it can be engaged and overcome. Now, contrast that sharply with the deliberative profile. They anticipate risk so that it can be avoided and minimized. It's a wildly different approach. One wants to conquer the storm, the other wants to build a shelter. And this brilliantly illustrates why cognitive diversity is just so vital. A well-rounded team really needs the courage of self-assurance to push boundaries, but they also need the caution of deliberative to keep the whole project from blowing up. So, as we wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. How can you better support or collaborate with the internal compasses in your own life? Think about your team right now. Who are the people stabilizing the room during a crisis? Are you giving them the autonomy they need to really thrive, or are you micromanaging their instincts? And on the flip side, if they're bulldozing the quieter voices, how can you help guide them out of the basement and back up to the balcony? Understanding this framework is literally the first step to unlocking some incredible team dynamics. I highly encourage you to take this knowledge back to your workplace and just start observing. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.